In the age of RGB lights, are gels even worth it? What is going on? If you're new around here, my name is Finn Badgley. I'm a commercial fashion and portrait photographer, as well as a content creator. And today we are talking if gels are even something that you still need in the age of RGB lights. You can see this guy is kind of dancing around in the background, making some funky colors and whatnot. That is my little RGB light going on there. I just have it out of frame, pull it in. You can see just a little light tube. If you want a full review on this video, I will have it linked up here so you can check it out and decide for yourself if you would like to pick something like this up. Not sponsored, this is just what I have in the background, so that way you know what's making these colors. Anyways, with that in mind, I am somebody who has always used a lot of gels. I have a full milk crate full of different colored and sized gels that I will use for different applications. And is that something I even need in the age of RGB lights? Well, the answer is no and yes. And it's a little more complicated than that. So generally speaking, are gels something most people need, especially if they have a couple RGB lights just hanging around? Honestly, probably no. For the average creator, it's not something that they're really going to need or need to worry about. But for me, I have a very specific workflow and style, especially when it comes to my photography work. And these gels are something that I will use quite often to get a specific look. Now, here's the thing. While RGB LEDs are becoming increasingly popular and will only grow in popularity and power in the near future, for my photography work, I still use studio strobes as they give me the power output and look that I am looking for. And for those, that flash tube isn't RGB, and that isn't something that will probably really happen in the foreseeable future. So with that, these gels are something that I will use for almost all of my photography work unless I am using constant lights. Now for video, that's when things get a little more complicated. If I'm using a light like the key light that I have here, that is just controllable in terms of the Kelvin scale, being more from a tungsten to daylight sort of deal. That is something where if I want a specific look or specific color, that I will throw a gel on. Now that said, for my RGB light behind me, it's not something that I would worry about too much. Now, where it does become a bit of a different scenario is if I'm using this and that light is just a little too harsh because it is a thin light source. That is something where I would throw some diffusion gel over top of it just to make it softer and more flattering. Now, something else you could do for that obviously is bounce it into a wall, into the ceiling, into a white reflector, a piece of foam core. But myself, I have the gels handy, so that is something that I would definitely use if I needed to soften that guy. Now, if you're a photographer using a lot of strobe and flash lighting, then I would suggest you still hold on to your gels, as that will give you the flexibility that you're going to need, especially in different scenarios where you're dealing with tungsten light and daylight or something like that. You can modify those lights around you to make everything just look more polished, and that way you don't need to have a giant headache in post. Now, if you're somebody who primarily shoots video and has a bunch of RGB lights hanging around, that's primarily what you use, then maybe gels aren't something you really need. And if you need diffusion, you can get away with DIYing something using like a bed sheet, a shower curtain, or just using some foam core or like a 5-in-1 reflector type of deal. So I think you really have to look at what you're using it for and what you need out of it. If you need the flexibility and controls that gels give you, then obviously that is something you'd want to have in your kit. But if it's not, and you have a bunch of RGB lights or you're looking into getting some, then I think baby gels aren't something that you really need. There's definitely still a place for them in the photography and video space, but I don't think they are for everybody now. I think there are different options that give us creators more flexibility, and honestly, I think that is pretty fantastic. So if you've been on the fence about RGB lights, gels, and that sort of deal, I hope this provided some insight and you got some value out of this video. If you did, be sure to drop a like and leave a comment down below if you like this sort of thing and you want to see more of it from me in the future. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the bell to be notified when I post new videos. Work hard, rest often, and as always, I will see you in the next one. Portrait, Pasha, Pasha, ha 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 ha. What?